New Mexico requires lawmakers to file financial disclosures to highlight potential conflicts of interest. But a KRQE investigation shows that confusion over the filing requirements is limiting how much information is actually revealed.
Pursuant to state law, candidates and elected officials and certain public officials are required to file annually or when they file to run for office or both. And the goal of that, of course, is to provide public information for anybody who chooses to seek it to find out, what might be the personal financial interests of these elected or appointed officials and where there might indeed be conflicts of interest or areas where you might see those individuals having to make decisions that could potentially directly affect their own financial interest.
KRQE News 13 found dozens of instances where candidates or legislative incumbents did not report an income. Some of the forms were blank, other than a date and a signature. That doesn't necessarily mean foul play. KRQE News 13 spoke with Representative Janelle Anyanornu, who says her disclosure is blank because she is unemployed and has nothing to report. But KRQE found instances where lawmakers say they were employed, yet failed to report an income source. New Mexico's Secretary of State says the reason is because certain income doesn't need to be reported.
What's going on in those cases is you typically have individuals who earn an income through their work, which is actually not a required field on the financial disclosure statement. So if you have a day job that you go to and you get paid for that, that income is not required to be reported. And if you don't own property, so if you're renting a property, then you wouldn't be required to disclose that either. So those would be the cases in which you would see a financial disclosure statement with sort of not applicables across the board. They earn a salary and they're renting a home, and they don't otherwise own property or have any business interests or earn income from business interests.
But that's not how everyone interprets state law.
So Section 3 of the Financial Disclosure Act doesn't have any gaps with respect to the reporting of sources of income. If a reporting individual has income over $5,000, that reporting individual has to disclose the source of that income identified by a general category description.
So who's checking the information in the disclosures? Fundamentally, it's up to the public.
With respect to who is in the best position to know whether or not some detail on a disclosure statement is untruthful, this is partly the idea behind the State Ethics Commission Act, is it enables members of the public, other candidates, political opponents to file administrative complaints alleging violations of the ethics laws, including the financial disclosure statutes. And really, Curtis, this is Madison. This is the Federalist Papers, the pointing of ambition against ambition, and that's kind of the design of the State Ethics Commission Act. Is in a way the enforcement of our state's ethics laws is outsourced to the folks that really care, and those are the constituents. Those are members of the public. Those are political opponents that are contesting political office. So it's not only the responsibility of the Secretary of State's office or the Ethics Commission or the Attorney General's office. It's really all of our responsibility in a democratic state to ensure compliance with our state's ethics laws.
KRQE spoke with multiple lawmakers that had apparent discrepancies in their filings. They told us any omissions were simply mistakes, and that the online filing system is difficult to navigate. The Secretary of State says they do offer help with filings, but not everyone takes them up on that offer.
We definitely provide training. In fact, we have individuals, who will physically sit in the House and Senate lounge during the legislative session right before the deadline to work with members of the legislature as they're coming off the floor in between votes to help them get filed and to provide them that guidance. We provide webinars for filers. So, it's not necessarily that we don't provide standard guidance, which we do. It's just, I think, too, one of the challenges is you have the law, which is of course specific only to a certain point. And then, the form that we have created to try and comply with the law to the best of our ability is only as full of guidance as it can be to a certain point. So we are, in effect, in many ways, relying on individuals to ask questions when they're not clear, to get that standard guidance from our office, and also, again, as a general rule, to be as transparent as possible, even though it is not necessarily required in some cases.